Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Hagbard Celine here, reporting in on a beautiful Wednesday. And I have found a kind of old video from 2011, but it's by one of my least favorite Islamic apologists and Sharia law enthusiasts, Hamza, or however you pronounce his name. He is one of the worst human beings, and he's functionally not a great apologist. He only works for the people with the lowest intellects humanly possible, because he's so clearly full of bullshit. He throws out so much illogical nonsense in the following video that I had to answer it. I hope you guys enjoy, and let us begin.
See, this is the thing, right? Because we're born in the West, in Britain.
Yeah.
Religion gets attacked all the time.
As well it should, because it breeds hostile and terrible ideas that shouldn't be allowed to spread around. I mean, it'd be like saying, fucking in the West we have a tendency to condemn dictatorships. Well, of course we do. You, however, not so much. You're all for that theocratic dictatorship.
You have Richard Dawkins. You've heard of Richard Dawkins, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call him Richard Dawkins, yeah? He's a bit of a crazy guy.
Already, I am astounded by your wit, sir. Please go on.
Trying to, attack religions and blame everything on religions and stuff, and there's no proof for God.
That's because there's not, and you're not going to provide any here.
Yeah.
Let me address two things here. First and foremost, we are brought up thinking that everything that we must verify has to be touch and feel.
Or, better understood, verifiably and repeatably measured by instruments or any such techniques therein. You see, you're going to reduce it to like ancient Greece, where the only things we had was touch, sight. You're totally confounding the issue.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. If God could be touched and felt and seen, would that be God?
No, you mean.
Would that be
It
God?
wouldn't really be a test of belief, would it? Because you would know.
It's not even just a belief, because God actually says there's good reasons to believe in Him. For example, look.
So your argument is that if we could find some way to verifiably prove God, it would not in fact be God. Okay?
Do you believe you had a great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma?
No.
Do you believe you had a...
Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously, I know that because obviously I'm here now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but that's exactly the point. Have you ever seen your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma? You don't have access to a DNA?
I know scientifically, I would have to have one to be here.
Well, no. See, that's the point. Using the terminology here. Scientifically, you have no clue. You have no clue. Scientifically, you're just dumb on this position. Or we're dumb on this position, because what does science say? Science say we can only verify the physical world on things that we can touch and feel. This is a non-verifiable thing.
Yeah.
The only way you know you got a great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma is because you're here. You've made a logical, rational decision.
Look, just because a lot of people come from shiftless heathens that wander around and have no basis for the belief that they do in fact come from people, doesn't mean that everyone's like that. I actually just let that run on for as long as I did to prove that some people do indeed have more verifiable evidence of their lineages, if you will. Watch and learn.
赤ちゃんに生まれた時からそんな風に周り全体がそんな風に教えてきた、教わってきた。それがたまたまギネスに載ったりいろんなことしましたけれども、だけどそんなことで旅館を宣伝したりそういう気持ちは全然なかったのは事実ですね。仏教、山白山を開かれたお坊さんがここの先祖になるわけですから、そういう意味で仏さんを大事にする、仏教を大事にする。それから代々養子をもらったのが名前がたまたまその善五郎という名前で、それが代々伝わっていったわけです。二代目だけは養子を来たんですね。それで私がちょうど46代の前後ということでございます。
Sir, that same Japanese family has owned and run that one ryokan in the forest for almost as long as your fucking religion has existed. Do you understand that? Do you understand that these people already had a society, a functioning society, while the Islamic world was still putting its feet under itself? You know that, right? You're a fucking joke.
Not based on the physical world, based on necessity. If it's necessary your great-great-great-great-grandmother existed in order for you to be here. You can't see her, but if someone says she never existed, you say, get lost, man, you're crazy. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
No, no one who has an intellect sees your point, because what you are saying is pointless. It doesn't actually make your point.
So the point is, we don't need physical evidence all the time to come to conclusions. Exactly the same thing with God. As you said, cause and effect, creator and created.
By that same logic, we didn't need verifiable evidence that the sun will rise in the east and settle in the west. However, we have it. We have many instrumentational recordings of how this occurs, but you probably don't believe any of that, so.
Let's put it this way. Everything in the universe, dude, that begins to exist, okay, if I just popped like this, here I am, I just popped into existence, has a cause. You know it must have came from somewhere. Everything that begins, that starts to exist, always has a cause. Number two, the universe, without a shadow of a doubt now, began to exist. Based on philosophy, mathematics, Big Bang. You know about the Big Bang, yeah?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's not that thing after too many curries, right? Yeah, the Big Bang, okay?
I'm gonna assume by your laughter that you don't believe in even the remotest possibility of the existence of the Big Bang. You would prefer that your Sky Daddy created everything to fit your world. Okay. Well, I really hope that your ilk is around when science starts catching up to us and things start happening like the sun starts expanding, gravitational fields shift, and potentially we're whizzed off into the fucking galaxy. Because you'll be real happy to be screaming Allahu Akbar instead of figuring out scientifically how to get the fuck off this rock.
So from all this, we know the universe began to exist. So what logically follows? Therefore, the universe has a cause. So we just say, right, without a doubt, we know the universe has a cause. What is the nature of this cause? Well, if you create the universe, it can't be part of the universe. Because if it's part of the universe, then that would mean the universe existed and didn't exist at the same time. Does that make sense?
First and foremost, it does kind of make sense if you understand quantum theory, but also... Oh, Hamas, you're so close to the logical argument that just blows your point out of the water. I mean, you're literally to the point here. Let's see if you complete the thought.
That's just crazy. Can Abu Bakr exist and not exist at the same time?
Don't make no
Although
sense.
we may want him not to exist. Because he talks a lot, yeah. Yeah, I'm kidding. So there's that. It must be one. Because they're knocking on the door. We don't assume there's Manchester United football team behind the door, right? We say it's one person, isn't it? Yeah? It's the most logical explanation.
Okay, well, still for some reason arguing against, I guess, polytheism, or physics as a form of polytheism. I don't really know what the point of bringing in more than one knock at the door would be, but okay. I mean, it's like applying Occam's razor without actually applying Occam's razor. You've just said, well, if there was a beginning, the easiest answer by far is that God did it. God done did it. That's the easiest answer, and I don't want to think any further than that.
We know he must be all-powerful. He didn't create a grain of sand, he created the whole universe, right?
Yeah.
And we know it must be uncreated. Because some people say, well, who created God? It must be uncreated. Why?
Why indeed? It's a very good question. Why would you say that the universe must have been inherently designed and created, but that the entity that created the universe had to go, quote-unquote, uncreated? Whatever the fuck that means. I mean, are you arguing God by evolution? I don't really see where you're going with this, man.
Don't know why.
But let me give you an example. Say I want to shoot you, yeah?
Yeah.
Good style like this, yeah? Yeah? Hackney style. But before I could shoot, I have to ask Abu Bakr for permission. Abu Bakr, can I shoot the geezer? He says, wait, I need to ask someone behind me to shoot. And that guy has to ask permission too. If that goes on forever, could I shoot you?
No.
Impossible.
Exactly the same thing with the universe. The question of saying who created God is equivalent of saying there is no creation. Because you need a final point. Because if it went on forever, we would never have creation in the first place.
Oh, so by your reasoning, because God created the universe, and because the universe was indeed created in the purest sense of creationist ideology, and God absolutely wasn't created, and the only thing that would blow that theory out is that you're arguing from the position of it's turtles all the way down is the only alternative, thus God. Is that really? This is a fucking standard thought experiment in a philosophy class to disprove God. It pretty much proves that any explanation for a creator warrants that there be turtles all the way down. You do know that, right? You've used a thought experiment that's traditionally used to disprove God in an attempt to prove God, right? Your thinking is so muddled. It's really amazing.
So look what we've just done, just very simply. We've said there's a cause for the universe. It must be one, powerful, and uncreated. This is exactly what the Quran says.
Well, sure, it always makes it easier to start with the conclusion and work your way backwards. I mean, that's easy. It's not logical. It doesn't actually follow or make sense. It's just you saying, my book said this, I have found a way to twist logic to say this, thus 'tis true. Not so much.
قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Say, God is one, unique, eternal, self-sufficient. He begets not, nor was he begotten. He's uncreated. And there is nothing like him. He's immaterial. He's outside of the universe. Yeah. So just using our aql in Islam is our intellect. Reflection, as the Quran always tells us to reflect. He uses the word يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, for those who reflect. Because the Quran is for reflecting human beings. So when we come to the conclusion that there must be a God. For me, I think that's irrefutable evidence there.
I would say that's because you have a very loose idea of what constitutes evidence, sir. You haven't provided a single piece of evidence. You said some wildly irrational nonsense, and then said, my book says that that wildly irrational nonsense makes sense, thus it makes sense. No, it doesn't. Not at all.
We could even go slowly through it again, because they were very basic concepts, weren't they?
Yeah.
So there's evidence for it. There's evidence for it. And then what I would say now is God an absentee landlord? He just give you the keys and will go away. No, how could we apply something to God that we never apply to ourselves?
You constantly apply things to deities that one does not apply to human beings. What kind of statement is that? You've already implied he was uncreated while you are indeed created. Why would that not deem different rules to the behavior of these two entities? That is one of the most ass-backwards and stupid statements I have ever heard in my entire life, and that is saying something. I grew up arguing with Christians, and even they wouldn't make a ridiculous claim like that. That is stupid. You are monkey-brained. Fix your head.
I got a BlackBerry, right? What came with my BlackBerry? A manual came with my BlackBerry. Human beings made this, and they made the manual. So we make manual for things. We're saying God wouldn't give us guidance? We're actually being saying lesser for the being that created the whole universe?
Technically, aren't you dictating lesser to the creator of the whole universe by saying that he would behave like his creations? That he would behave like human beings? That he, as a perfect thing, would... I mean, how do you not see that even your own statements, like, within this conversation, don't make any sense? Jesus.
We must be chiefs if we think that, man. We must be crazy. So the point is, it only makes sense that he gave us revelation. Now the question is, what is the revelation? That's a profound point we need to be talking about.
Sorry to cut you there, because we've got a few callers, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam. My name is Ikra and I'm calling from London.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, Hamza, you are an inspiration for us all, and I have a question for Brother Gregory. Your general views on the way things are very Islamic, which is really impressive, as you believe in one God and your views on the hijab, etc. And I'm just intrigued to ask you, what is holding you back from being a Muslim? And do you see yourself as being one?
I'm not ignorant to the idea. I mean, I'm slowly learning. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a lot about the religion. I wouldn't say 100% I feel that I'm gonna convert, but even though, like, for example, he's given me very good evidence to suggest there's a God. But sometimes you have to believe something 100%.
Just to be sure, man.
Me, I'm quite doubtful about anything. I'm so indecisive about everything. I go in the shop, I don't know what to buy. So for me, maybe more than the average person, it might take a bit longer to be 100% sure of what path I want to take. I mean, I understand that obviously you shouldn't really take long. Death is promised to every man at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So obviously I want to try and find the right path as quick as possible. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm young, I'm just trying to learn and, you know, hopefully find the right path, really.
And it ends there. I didn't cut that. That's legitimately just where the little clip I found ends. But I kind of feel bad for this kid because he's literally saying out loud without realizing it, I'm too smart to say that I'm part of any of these ridiculously regressive ideas. But I mean, I do understand that I don't want to make a total ass of myself and get into an argument with this guy from a place of ignorance on stage, so I'm not going to get in there. And then to further admit that you're a young man who's still learning about the world and wants to find the right ideology. Well, let me tell you, son, that's not it. This is not the right ideology. This is an ideology of just absolute hate. This is an ideology that teaches that if you will not submit your will to God, then you are an unperson. It's just as bad as the worst tyrannical government in the world, and the book says to behave that way. The other clip I found that I was going to do was actually entitled Islamophobia Episode 27, in which he explains the Sunnah, or the teachings of what was said and the actions of Muhammad, the person that you're supposed to follow, and then explains that yes, indeed, that is what you're supposed to do. Read specifically the Quran and read specifically the Sunnah, and then know those two can never be unmuddled, those two are permanently interjoined, and that they do indeed dictate the behavior of the quote-unquote perfect Muslim. Now go read those, come back to me, and explain to me if that's a world you want to live in. It's not a world I want to live in. For the rest of you, go stone some raped women and gays. Fuck off. And for everyone who got through that with me, I hope that you experienced some joy at watching these people talk themselves in circles. And I'll catch up on you Friday.